is Chris Hludzik, and this is another in a series of videos that I'm doing called Chris Hludzik Explains. And so far I have discussed my side project with Brian Brophy, which was called The Latter Day, and the album that we did called As We Speak. I discussed my debut solo album, Yours in Rock, and I also discussed my second solo album, which was called Dissonance Meets Harmony. Now I'm going to be discussing my third solo release in this video, and it was an EP entitled Nervous No More. I already did an interview video about this album, but so I won't get too in-depth, but I'll cover some things that I didn't cover in that video. Basically, Nervous No More was something that I did. I pretty much started working on it immediately after I released Dissonance Meets Harmony. And basically the reason for that was I wanted to do something, but I didn't want to do a whole album. And I had a few songs left over from Dissonance Meets Harmony, songs that I actually had recorded and finished for Dissonance Meets Harmony, but they just didn't quite fit the final product, so I decided to leave them off. But I still liked them enough to want to do something with them and put them out, so that's basically what I did. I had two songs. One was called The Ball's in Your Court, and another one was called Northwest Song. And they were originally going to be on Dissonance Meets Harmony. In fact, I had been playing Northwest Song out live since I started playing out, so it wasn't a new song exactly. Balls in Your Court was maybe a couple years old at that time, and I hadn't played it out yet, I don't think. So there were two songs that I liked, they just didn't fit on Dissonance Meets Harmony. And the other two songs, there was a song called Surroundings, which was one that I had written probably about a year before I finished Dissonance Meets Harmony, so that really wasn't ever in contention. And another song called Bygone, which was actually another older song that I actually really had done nothing at all with. I just had it written and it was completed, but I just never did anything with it actually. So I decided it was time to dust that one off and do something with it. So the title of the EP basically comes from the fact that I really fretted over the last album, the previous release of mine, Dissonance Meets Harmony, and I didn't want to fret over this one. I didn't get as crazy about it as I did with Dissonance Meets Harmony. This was a little more laid back, a little more kind of, I wasn't trying to prove anything to anyone. I was just trying to make, some good music and, have some fun, basically. And another part of it was when I was an intern at Sound Investments Recording Studio, an assistant engineer there named Chris Condell, who plays drums on the last song on my first album, he gave me the nickname CNI, Chris the Nervous Intern, because when I first started working at the studio, I was very, I guess very shaky about stuff. I was very kind of just freaking out because I didn't want to screw anything up, and I really took being at the studio very seriously, and I didn't want to blow it, So he called me Chris the Nervous Intern because I was always nervous. But I'm really proud of the EP. I never saw myself as an EP sort of guy. I've always been a fan of the full-length album, and I still am. But to me, the EP is kind of like the in-between of either doing an album or just doing a single. I think sometimes singles are just too, they're too quick, wink and you miss it, And one song or two songs usually isn't really enough to tell you about a musician or a band. It'll give you a little glimpse, but it might not necessarily be the best reflection of them. Albums sometimes tend to be too long for some people. Some people don't want to sit down and listen to a whole album. Or if they do, they'll just kind of skim through songs. And really, on an album of 10 songs, there'll maybe be only 2 or 3 or maybe 4 that people actually like. So an EP, by nature, usually only has between 3 and 5 songs anyway, so if my choice is doing an album of 10 songs and people aren't going to like 3 or 4 of them anyway, we're doing a single that people just might kind of not even notice or just quickly forget about after it comes out. I kind of feel like an EP is kind of like a really happy medium, because if they're only going to listen to 3 or 4 songs from a full-length album, I might as well make a release of 3 or 4 songs and make those 3 or 4 songs really good and really stand out, so that the release as a whole will be hopefully memorable to people. So it was kind of different for me, because really I had only done albums up until that point, so it was kind of cool to do something a little different. And like I said, it was a little more laid back, it was a little easier, and it was a little more fun as a result. The first song on the EP is called Bygone, and I recorded it all at home with the exception of the piano, which I overdubbed at Sound Investments on a real piano. Really proud of the way that one came out. Just kind of simple, nice kind of intro track, sort of sets up the rest of the EP. Just acoustic guitar, bass, my vocal, and the piano. Really very basic, very melodic. Then we go into the second song, which is called Surroundings, which is just very old school, like early to mid 70s, like kind of hard rock sounding. I love the group Mountain. Leslie West is one of my favorite guitar players, and he was always a really awesome vocalist too. He always had a bluesy grit and edginess to his vocal delivery, and I always liked that. But he was also very soulful. So when I sang that, I kind of tried to channel Leslie West, and I don't think I did it, but it certainly helped give me direction in what I was doing when I was doing that vocal track. The song has a ton of guitars on it. It's got 2 rhythm guitars, 2 rhythm electric guitars. It's got an acoustic guitar. It's got a lead slide guitar. It's got a regular lead guitar, the little lead guitar line that is the intro to the song. And Joe Ogleski, Wiggy, my good friend, he played an awesome guitar solo on it. And it just came out way better than I ever thought it could sound. And Brian Brophy, my good friend and collaborator, did the drum part in 1 take. So I mean, that song just came together really, really well. The third song on the EP is called Northwest Song, and it's a bit autobiographical, and I usually don't do autobiographical songs, but it's about the time that I spent in my first couple bands, and my first couple bands were alternative rock bands. We really didn't have much of an identity. We were just kind of aping styles of alt rock bands like Nirvana and Stone Temple Pilots and Soundgarden and groups like that. And really we probably should have just tried to be ourselves, but we were kids and we didn't really know who we were. So imitating someone that we liked or something that we liked, I guess, was the next best thing. But I got the line, but we weren't stars, we wouldn't last that long, just kids with guitars trying to play those Northwest songs. I got the line, we weren't stars, from a comment that the guitar player in my first band made about the other guitar player, talking about how he was kind of starting to act like he was the shit, and looking back, I don't think he was acting like he was the shit. I think he was just excited about the band, and like I said, we were all young and we all thought we were great. Little did we know. But he made a comment, he's not a star, he's just a kid with a guitar, so that's where I got that from. I just kind of put my own little spin on it. When we were in stars, we wouldn't last that long, because we didn't last that long. I think we broke up like 3 months later. So things moved very fast back then. But again, another song with a lot of guitars on it. Great drumming by Brian Brophy, great bass playing by Lenny Mecca, and another awesome guitar solo by Joe Ogleski. What more could you ask for? And the last song on the EP, Nervous No More, is a song called Balls in Your Court. And I wrote the song basically about always having, that friend or that family member or business partner or whatever in your life, that other person in your life that you're always looking to like to do stuff with, or if you want to make something happen with them, you're always the one that has to call them and try to get them going and light a fire under their ass to get them to do something. And just basically getting to the point where you're sick of that and saying, you know what, the ball's in your court, I'm leaving this up to you. If you want me, you know where I'll be. And I've unfortunately had a lot of people like that in my life, and still do, unfortunately. But I think we all do, and I think that's why I wanted to include it on the EP, because it was such a relatable song. I think of all the songs on the EP, that's probably the most relatable. And the coolest thing about that song was at the end I wanted to do kind of like a gang vocal thing, but I couldn't get a gang together that day that I was recording in the studio. Everybody was busy, nobody was available, all the people that I wanted to use. So myself and Lenny Mecca, the bass player, we did the vocal ourselves, and we overdubbed it like 5 or 6 times. And then Wiggy, who was the engineer on the session, had us turn around and shout at the wall so it echoed in the room and made it sound like there's a lot more people than there really was, So at the end of it, when it was all mixed and everything, all done up, together with the proper, reverb and with the proper equalization and leveling out of the vocals, it sounded like, a room full of people. It sounded like a crowd chanting, which is what I wanted. And we only did it with 2 people, so it was pretty cool. The release is available on cdbaby.com and also at my shows. So if any of you come out to see me at a show and are interested in purchasing a copy, I'll have copies there. As always, you could find samples from it on my SoundCloud page. It's soundcloud.com/Chris Hludzik. I have a little medley there of the songs, so you could hear what the EP sounds like before you buy it. And I want to thank you all for watching this video, and I have one more video to do after this one for the Chris Hludzik Explained series, and that will be profiling another release I made in 2014 with my good friend Adam Kime, a side project which was also an EP called Murder Under Trust. So thanks a lot for watching. Until next time, I'm Chris Hludzik.